doing research literally in the field of oxygen and oxygen supplementation about 35 years ago. And so it's been decades of continual.
Guys, thank you for joining us. We are going live with Dr. Stephen Krauss, the formulator of O2 Drops. There is a new product called O2 Immune coming out. He's going to be talking about that. Now he's talking about his background. Please, you want to tune in and hear about this life-changing oxygen product that is just hitting the market.
In order to preserve health and wellness. So, Shelley, you and I have been together, it seems like forever, and you're very much like a little sister to me, and I love you for it.
Well, thank you. And yes, you are the expert in the field. This new product is going to be kind of a different delivery than what we're used to, and it's going to be a nasal spray. So let me ask you, why is it so important to have a spray that you're using nasally, and why is it important to keep the nasal patches placed? What's up with that?
Well, Shelley, before we really get into the actual product itself, which is called O2 Immune, I think it's really important for everyone on the call to understand the function and the purpose of our little nostrils and our little nose, and of course the respiratory system. Believe it or not, all of us breathe about 23,000 times every single day into a pair of lungs, right, your left lung and your right lung, that if we were to actually go and unfold the lungs, they cover the size of a tennis court. Our lungs, of course, are responsible for capturing all of the oxygen out of the air that we breathe, and then releasing that oxygen into our bloodstream. Then it travels over 12,000 miles of blood vessels every single day to more than 30 trillion cells that are in our body. So it's a really amazing process that our noses start by taking in the oxygen that we need for every function in our human body. Now, our noses really act like personal air treatment systems. And they're that system for the pair of lungs that we have. The nose, of course, is cleverly designed to actually protect and prevent contaminants from getting into the lungs. If our lungs get contaminated, they can't really pull the oxygen from the air that we breathe, and that oxygen can't get into the body, and we die. So that's really important to really grasp the concept that it really starts with the nose. Now, when the passageways get clogged, and this happens when mucus gets really thick in our nose, that inflames the blood vessels that are in the nose, as well as the blood vessels that are in the sinus cavities. And that causes more congestion. Eventually, this inflammation and the congestion lead to something many of us have heard about and some of us experience, and that's sinus infections. So the real purpose of our nose, well, let me just say our noses, for that, we want to take responsibility for all the noses in our household, is the number one, filter the air. That's the most important thing that they can do. They filter the air and they catch and trap tiny little particles before they can get into our lungs and contaminate and damage our lungs. The second thing our noses do is they humidify the air. They add moisture to keep our airways from drying out. And I'll talk a little bit more about why dry air is a real problem for all of us to experience. And the third thing, of course, is that our noses warm the air to body temperatures before that air gets into the lungs. If the air is super cold, it can actually damage the lungs and prevent oxygen from being absorbed into the bloodstream. Now, Shelley, the whole upper respiratory system, and when we talk about the respiratory system, the upper respiratory system, that includes the nose and the sinus cavities. The whole system is lined with a thin layer of sticky mucus. Some of us call it boogers. But it's really just a mucus that actually is designed to trap dust particles, to trap bacteria, and to trap pollutants that are in the air. Now, inside the nose are tiny little hairs, and those hairs are called cilia. And those little hairs are continually moving, and they actually sweep the mucus into the back of our throats, where that mucus is then swallowed and then eventually it's neutralized and digested in our stomachs, as well as any pollutants that might be stuck in the mucus. And what's amazing is most people don't realize is that mucus is constantly being generated. It's being produced. In fact, we actually make about 4 cups of mucus every single day.
Wow.
And that's what we swallow. But at the same time, that mucus never stops being produced. It's essential to a healthy respiratory system. For the filtering process to work efficiently, though, our mucus has to have a perfect balance between its stickiness and what we call fluidity, how well it flows. It can't be too sticky and it can't be too fluidy. If it's too fluidy, that's a runny nose. If it's too sticky, it can't be sucked into the back of our throat, and all sorts of other problems occur. So when our nasal passages are dehydrated, and that happens by dry air, actually moisture is being evaporated, and the mucus gets very, very, very thick. Now, some of the things that get stuck in our nose are pollen, dander, and literally infectious microorganisms. Now, these things can actually disrupt the balance of that stickiness and fluidity. And irritating chemicals can also cause a real serious problem, Shelley. So can secondhand smoke. Now, any of these contaminants tip the scales and cause, unfortunately, a serious health issue. Now, to go on, there's things called allergens and there's things called pathogens. Allergens are things that we're allergic to. Primarily, they're pollen, dust, dander. And of course, we know that pathogens are bacteria, viruses. They can be anything that happens to be in the air. They can actually be dust mites that are floating around in the air because those things are really tiny. And in a very windy situation, those can actually get absorbed into the nose, the nasal cavity. Okay, when that happens, there's an alarm system, a signal that goes out to the immune system. And that alarm system says, okay, immune system, okay, body, send more blood to the nasal cavity. If more blood gets sent to the nasal cavity, obviously one thing that happens that we really don't want, and that is that our nasal passages get swollen. They get inflamed. Doctors call this congested. So that's when they say, well, you're congested. That's really what's happening, is there's more blood that should be going to the nasal system that's getting there, and of course causing the nasal system to be inflamed. When it gets inflamed, that overwhelms the cilia's ability to flush out the mucus, to clean things out, and we wind up with a stuffy nose or runny noses and stuffy noses. Now, something I want to explain to everyone that we're probably aware of, but that is that dry air is really, really damaging to the mucous membranes and to our nasal cavity. We can get dry air because of air conditioning. We can get dry air caught by winter air, because most of the time during the winter, especially in those areas where there's snow, that can really dry out the nasal passages. There's also individuals that have wood-burning stoves, people that have wood-burning fireplaces, people that work in offices where the fresh air circulation is really bad. All of that contributes to dry nasal cavities, and of course, that contributes to the different types of, unfortunately, symptoms that can eventually result in disease experiences. Now, again, when the noses are dry, the cilia can't move the mucus, and then we become to those sicknesses and diseases. So really, Shelley, to kind of summarize all of this, and I'm sorry to belabor it, there's 7 things that we really need to remember. And if you want to jot them down, you can. Hopefully this call is getting recorded and people can go back and get these 7 things. They're not so complicated to remember. Number 1, dry air causes respiratory problems. Problems like asthma, bronchitis, sinusitis, and constant nosebleeds. Number 2, dry air dehydrates our bodies. It reduces bodily fluids, and that can cause a whole host of other problems, including like poor and increased heart rates. The third thing that dry air can do is it can reduce the level of vitamin A in the body. Most people don't realize that. It actually depletes it. Vitamin A is something that we need to get every single day. And vitamin A is absolutely essential for a healthy and strong immune system. Number 4, dry air actually increases watering of itchy eyes and throat, which I think is extremely uncomfortable for most of us. Number 5, dry air can cause dry skin. It can actually cause chapped lips. When I was a kid, I used to get chapped lips all the time. I didn't realize it was the air that I was breathing. And dry air can also cause eczema, a really dry, flaky, reddened skin. Number 6, dry air dries out our nostrils. It causes cracked nasal membranes. It damages the cilia and causes chronic sinusitis. And lastly, they believe, the scientific community believes, that dry air is responsible, believe it or not, for chronic joint and muscle pains. So that kind of sums all of that up, Shelley.
Wow. I hope everybody was taking notes. My goodness, you guys just got a lesson and a half. That's incredible. I didn't realize all of that. So obviously we need to have a way to keep the nasal passages moist, and you've talked about pathogens and getting through there. What is the benefit of using a saline spray?
Well, first, can I talk about pathogens? Because you mentioned them. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Research, this is really interesting. Research is showing that when our sinuses are dry, they are 50%. That's a huge percentage. It's 100% you can't go anymore. So this is 50% more likely to attract sinusitis-causing bacteria. When our noses are working correctly, the way they're supposed to, cold viruses and bacteria are easily swept away in the mucus, just like I explained before. But when the nose can't capture and filter out these pathogens, these disease-causing microorganisms actually make their way into the tissues in our nose, and then they enter the bloodstreams, and that's where we get infections. This is exactly how the coronavirus, which all of us are aware of, we can't escape what's going on. That's how it gets into our bodies, Shelley. Dry air causes our nasal passages and our mucous membranes not to function properly. The cilia can't produce or can't perform their functions properly. And the coronavirus gets into the nose, embeds itself into the nasal cavity, works where the capillaries are, and then gets into the bloodstream. So it's really important to keep your nose moist. The drier our noses are, the quicker the rate of infection. That's just a medical scientific fact. Now, you asked, what are the benefits of using the nasal spray? Well, obviously, the nasal spray we're recommending is called O2 Immune. It's brand new, it's unique, there's nothing like it on the market. This saline spray works by increasing the moisture in our noses and to help promote natural cleaning processes. Now remember, we have to keep our nasal passages moist because it's the way we can prevent bacterial infections to develop, and now we know viral infections to develop. When the nasal crust gets really, really thick, those microorganisms have a perfect breeding ground to get into our bloodstream. O2 Immune is the best natural option for everyone wanting an inexpensive and risk-free alternative to prescription medications.
Wow. So you talked about the reasons that we need it, and I know that O2 is an amazing drop. What makes O2 Immune now unique and different? You said there's nothing else like it. What would be something that we would compare it to? Why is this different?
Well, Shelley, that's a great question, and there is no other nasal saline-based spray that's on the market, and that has ever been on the market, that combines the remarkable properties of the O2 drops, which is bioavailable oxygen, and a wonderful thing called living plant-derived zinc. Now, zinc comes in two forms, and I'll talk about that probably in a little bit. I've got a feeling you're going to ask me about it. But yes, our living zinc comes from plants. It doesn't come from dirt and rocks. It's not elemental zinc. And absolutely,
incredible. And probably most people on this call are familiar with the oxygen drops. So what made you use the activated oxygen in the O2 Immune?
Well, that's great, Shelley. I know you could answer this question better than I could at this point. But, oxygen is, as we've so many times said, is nature's most perfect disinfectant. It's nature's safest disinfectant. It's universal. That means you don't have to take a different kind of oxygen to kill one microorganism and another kind of oxygen to kill another pathogen. It is universal in its ability to kill pathogens, and in some cases destroys them on contact. So instantly it kills them. And in other cases, it may take 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds to do its miraculous process. So we know the end is still the same. And it's the same for those disease organisms the first time, the last time, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And that's death. And that's what we want to do, is kill them. Now, in the past training calls, you and I have done a lot of work together talking about how oxygen actually attacks the organisms themselves. So we're not going to go into details into that unless you want to do a follow-up call and we can kind of really look at how oxygen really kills microorganisms. And all I want to do today is kind of remind your team that everything happens in the human body on the subatomic level, where electrons are being exchanged from one atom or groups of atoms to another atom or another group of atoms. When oxygen is involved, this electrical exchange, because that's what it is, it's literally an electrical exchange of electrons, short circuits the microorganisms and destroys them. So in fact, this is the same process that our white blood cells use to kill pathogens that are in the bloodstream. That's what oxygen does. It's done it from the very moment that, God or whatever you believe in, I have to believe God designed us, but when he created us, he also created oxygen to help us with that process. Now, we use our proprietary bioavailable activated oxygen as a carrier for our living zinc, as well as a carrier for the saline, which is basically, saline is just another word for sodium chloride, and that's what you need to have to be gentle, as far as a solution in the nasal cavity. And so it creates, as I mentioned, a perfect solution to advance nasal health.
Excellent. And so I know you've talked about zinc, and I know everybody has been hearing everywhere, zinc is something that you need to be boosting yourself, supplementing with, because it has some real potential against some of these things that we're so afraid of right now. So why did you add zinc to this product?
Well, Shelley, most colds are caused by something known as a virus. And the actual name for this virus is called the rhinovirus. It has nothing to do with Africa, and it has nothing to do with rhinos. So it is called a rhinovirus. And it thrives and multiplies, especially in the nasal passages and in the throat. And again, we mentioned this is our upper respiratory system. So grasp that concept that here we have colds and those viruses breeding within our nasal passages, and it's called the rhinovirus. Now, there's a growing body of scientific evidence that says that the antimicrobial properties of zinc help restrict and actually inhibit the growth of these microorganisms. Some of these studies actually indicate that zinc may work completely to prevent the rhinovirus from multiplying in our nasal cavity. Zinc also stops, and that's pretty amazing when you think about it. Zinc also stops the rhinovirus from gaining a foothold in the mucous membranes in the throats and in the noses. So it's just a powerful mineral. Now, in going back and looking at, there was a review of 17 different independent, double-blind placebo studies. And this was over 60 years these studies were conducted. And involved, it may not seem like much, but it involved 2,100 patients that were tracked over this period of time. And they compared the individuals that were given the placebo to those receiving zinc. And believe it or not, Shelley, the ones that were getting zinc actually reduced their cold symptoms by a minimum of several days. So there's no question that the zinc actually helps us balance our immune response. There was another review of 13 different randomized placebo-controlled trials that provided absolutely convincing evidence that taking zinc, even after the onset of a common cold, significantly reduces both the duration and the severity of the cold. Now, lastly, there was 2 different studies that were just recently completed, and researchers found that zinc reduces the incidence of colds. Specifically, it was designed to see that it reduced it in children, and in children, no question, it does. So you can see, Shelley, looking at all this, that's why zinc is such an important element. But the zinc that we have in O2 Immune is different than the zinc that you can take as a dietary supplement for the most part. And the reason we did this...
Tell us about that.
That's why it's really important to understand it. This isn't just everyday normal zinc. This is a special zinc. This zinc actually comes not from molecules or ions that are made in a laboratory. This comes from plants. Now remember, dirt and rocks are fine. You want to make something out of zinc that's metal. But that is not food to the human body. And when people are making zinc compounds, zinc citrate, zinc carbonate, and other kinds of zincs that you can find in zinc supplements, those are man-made. They're made using elemental zinc, which is dirt, comes from dirt and rocks, and they combine it with other molecules and other atoms. That's not what we're doing. We're using plant-derived zinc. Our bodies get their nutrition from food. You and I have talked about this over and over for so many years, that the important thing is to eat healthy and eat foods that are rich in vitamins and minerals. That's what's in O2 Immune. It's not laboratory synthesized compounds. Plant-derived zinc is different because it has a different electrical charge than man-made molecules of zinc. Now, remember when we were kids, Shelley, and we used to play with something that was really kind of fun? They were magnets, and you had a whole bunch of magnets, and you kind of put them up against each other and whatever. And we remember that the same poles of the magnets, when you try to push them together, they repel. You can't get them to stick together. But if you turn one magnet around and you put it up against the other magnet, it sticks. Well, the same thing happens when we take in minerals into our bodies, and especially the minerals that come from food. The outer membranes of all of our cells are positively charged, just like the positive charge on a magnet. Elemental or synthesized forms of zinc are also positively charged. So here comes the zinc that's in the bloodstream that we got from this dietary supplement or whatever it was that's not food-based, and the body needs the zinc, especially for the immune system strength. And what happens when it gets close to a cell? It gets pushed away. That's not going to help our immune system, nor will it help any of the other minerals that we're taking if they come from anything other than food. So the neat thing about it is our living mineral zinc is negatively charged. So say that you would get from legumes, okay, or eating any beans or whatever it may be, that zinc literally is attracted to the cell and gets into the cell to strengthen it. So that's what's super unique about the zinc that we're using in O2 Immune.
Wow, I never knew that was even a thing. And that's what's so crazy, Dr. Krauss, is people take things because they think it's going to be good for them, but they're not really getting quality, the whole foods, the things that you just explained to us. It's like, oh my gosh, I was excited before the call. Now that I understand what makes it so incredible, I'm just like, wow, everybody needs to hear this.
Shelley,
should we take this like before we're sick? Is this something you should take every day? When is the best time to use it?
Well, before I say that, let me just make sure that everyone understands that O2 Immune is absolutely perfectly safe. We need to say this so that everyone can get rid of the fear factor. It's perfectly safe. Remember, it contains plant-based zinc. It contains oxygen, just like the oxygen that we breathe, and it contains sodium chloride, which is the same sodium chloride that you can find in the ocean. Okay, so which is safe for the human body. There's not a lot, so it's not like individuals that have serious problems, with having concerned about their sodium intake. We're not talking about anything that's significant on that part. And it contains water, which the human body needs. So it is safe, and it's not a medication. There's no danger of overdoing it. There aren't any adverse side effects that anybody should worry about. All they should be concerned about is how quickly they get a positive response and really enjoy this. Now, talking about when's the best time, well, I won't say the best time of the day because it could be any time during the day. But O2 Immune is really, really a wonderful thing when we're trying to defend our bodies against hot, cold, dry weather, especially during the cold and flu seasons. Whenever we have allergy seasons, when things get dry, things are blowing around, and all that pollen is in the air. And when we're forced to spend, Shelley, long periods of time locked up in the offices or locked up in our homes where the heating systems are running or the air conditioning systems are rolling, that air is literally drying out our bodies. So that's the best time to take O2 Immune. It's not so much, like I said, when it's 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, it's any time, and you can't overdo it. So keep yourself hydrated and keep your nasal passages moisturized.
Excellent, excellent. So you said safe, and I'm assuming for children, we can give this. I've got 12 grandchildren and 5 children, and I'm just worried sick with back to school and all these things that everybody's, going through. So this is safe for little ones all the way up to the elderly. Doesn't matter.
It absolutely is safe. The products that are on the market today, the saline nasal spray products on the market today, are safe for anybody. The problem that they have is a lot of those have preservatives in them. There is no preservatives. There's no chemicals. There's no stabilizers. There's no colorants. This is absolutely pure. And that's what's wonderfully remarkable about this, is that you're dealing with a very pure product. And you're absolutely right. It is totally safe for the elderly, for the very young. This is just a way of keeping your nasal system and your nasal passages moisturized.
Excellent. Oh, my goodness, that is wonderful. And I just have, really another quick question here. We've kept you a little over a half hour. There's a lot individual bottles for each of them because we don't want to spread this from husband and wife nose to mother and son's nose, right? You would not want to share this with a family member. Get your own bottle, right?
You're absolutely right, Shelley. This is not, unlike the O2 drops where you can share, which is a great thing to do, be communal, you absolutely should never share any nasal spray. Should never share it. And the reason is obvious, just as you were saying. You don't want to spread potential diseases. Okay, and it could be just a minor cold, but the point is, it's just a ridiculous thing to do. My recommendation is to have one for every single member of the family, and so that you don't make a mistake and grab somebody else's, put the initials on it. Draw a picture, do an emoji, whatever it may be. But that way everyone, or put it, do a sticker. But that way everyone knows whose bottle is whose, and you can keep the entire family well hydrated and keep those passages moist.
Excellent, excellent. I totally agree. Well, this is just incredible. I mean, this product, I wish we would have had it back when this whole thing started. Thank goodness we had the O2 drop. But now it's still not, gone. This virus is still amongst us. And now you're going into schools. Every time you go back to school, they start getting sick again. Then you got the winter and all the flus. So this could not come to us at a better time. And again, I just want to thank you for your expertise. My goodness, you just give us a complete education every time we get to talk to you. So we really appreciate that, Steve. Any final thoughts?
No, I just want to tell you it's always a pleasure to work with you and your team members. I believe in your company, and we consider it a humble honor to be able to continue to bring new products to you.
Well, we appreciate you very, very much. And then I just want to bring on one of our co-founders who I am absolutely grateful to that brought this opportunity to us and arranged to get this product. And I think he's got some exciting news to share with us. So, Travis Martin, are you on the line?
Hi, Ann. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. How are you?
I'm doing good, Shelly. Hey, that was a great call. Dr. Krauss, also amazing information. I appreciate you taking the time.
You're talking a little quiet.
All the research. Excuse me?
You're a little bit quiet.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Now, is that a little bit better?
Yeah, a little bit. Yell at us.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I'm calling from my cell phone, and I don't have it on the speaker. I'm not sure why that is. But I just wanted to say thank you, everybody. Shelly, especially you, for putting this call together, having this great special relationship with Dr. Krauss. You know, those that are on the call, I hope you can see the value that Lurlife has with these type of products, what they offer. You know, we're not just taking products and throwing them out there to the marketplace. We're taking products that are carefully studied, carefully backed by science, and show results. And when I came across or was introduced to this product through my business partner, I knew exactly that we need to get this out as soon as we could. And as you know, we just went through a warehouse switch or a new warehouse, and I was in the warehouse and I saw this huge crate full of this O2 Immune, and it just arrived. And I immediately was like, we got to get this product out there. So we did a really quick run to get it out, but we've already coordinated everything with the back office, and we've coordinated everything with the distribution center, and they're ready to go right now. If you go on to the back office, it's SKU number 630 and SKU number 631. The 630 is buy two O2, get one free O2 Immune. And the other one is just a single bottle of the O2 Immune at $39.95. So it's the exact same pricing structure as the O2 drops. And what was unique also is with that buy two, get one free, it also qualifies you for the 4x4 bonus. So it's something you definitely want to participate in. We figured we might as well be getting the O2 drops and also getting the O2 Immune to go with you. And especially during the upcoming fall and winter season coming up, it's something that you definitely want to have to you, to your family, and to any sort of brand partner that you want to experience some great products with. So, any questions on that, Shelly, you want me to cover?
No, what I was so impressed and excited about, because you sent me a picture of it, and I said, well, how soon can we get this? And typically when you launch a new product, it's going to be 6 weeks or 6 months. And you said like immediately, so set up a call and we'll get this thing done. So we don't have to wait.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I literally, like I said, I was in the new warehouse where we're kind of organizing how products are, and I literally saw the whole pallet sitting there, and I took the picture and I sent it to you. That was the first thing I did, and you knew exactly what to do, and I knew exactly what to do, and here we are offering the product already to go. In fact, I got a picture from the distribution center. They've pre-packaged literally thousands of them all ready to go. So tomorrow morning, if you order tonight, they're going to go out the door. So there's no delay. You can get it as soon as you can. So I appreciate your coordination, both with Dr. Krauss, Shelly, and also your leadership, to pull this off and get it out as quick as we can, because I knew it was something we didn't want to miss out on. So thank you, Shelly, so much, and Dr. Krauss, thank you also.
Bless you too. Thank you so much for making this available to us, and we're excited. So with that, Chip, any final words? And then let's open up the call just real quick so everybody can thank Dr. Krauss.
Oh, awesome call. Thank you, Dr. Krauss. Thank you, Shelly, and thank you, Travis, and thank you, Lurlife. I am now going to unmute the call. Let's all give a great big thank you to Shelly and Dr. Krauss. So here we go. One moment.
Unmuted.
Thank you. Great information.
Great. Muted.
Thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen. Have yourself a most wonderful evening, and make sure you order our O2 Immune. This call is officially over. Bye for now.
Everybody. Thank you. Bye,
This
everyone.
session is no longer being recorded. Goodbye.